Hi, welcome to this podcast, Famous Book Lessons and Summaries. Today, we'll be looking at Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, book summary and key lessons. Marcus was once the most powerful and important man in the world. He was emperor of Rome for almost 2 decades, starting in the year 161 AD. Meditations is perhaps the only document of its kind ever made. It is the private thoughts of the world's most powerful man giving advice to himself on how to make good on the possibilities and obligations of his positions. Now, this is technically a book on philosophy. Here is a summary of the best lessons from Meditations. 1. Be patient to your inner teenager to live a good disciplined life. In parts of Meditations, it sounds like Marcus's inner adult is arguing directly with his inner teenager. For example, at one point, he's talking about what to do if you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning. Then another voice interrupts and whines, "But it is nicer here." And the first voice responds, "So you were born to feel nice. Instead of doing things and experiencing them, don't you see the plants, the birds, the ants, and spiders and bees going about their individual tasks, putting the world in order as best as they can?" Notice the tone of his writing. His inner adult is chastising the other part of himself that just wants to sleep in. 2. Remember death to stop worrying about what people think. You could live life right now. Let that determine what you say and think. Being an emperor, Marcus faced a lot more social pressure than most of us ever will. To put it into perspective, lots of very powerful people wanted him either publicly humiliated or dead. Let's not even mention how many of those ancient emperors were poisoned and assassinated by people close to them. He was always reminding himself that he will be dead one day, and everybody who ever knew him will also be dead. Marcus also told himself that even if we do have some kind of reputation after death, how is that useful to us? 3. Choose always to interpret what happens to you as beneficial in some way. Marcus recognized that each of us has a tremendous power in choosing how to interpret everything that happens to us. When something bad happens to us, we choose not to feel like a victim. For example, if someone says some rude or hurtful words towards you, then you can choose to not let those words hurt you. You can choose to interpret what happens to you as not only harmless, but beneficial in some way. When something happens to you, you always have the power to interpret it as harmful or harmless. 3 key takeaway lessons from Meditations. 1. The most important lesson to take away from meditation is that our minds have a great power. We can choose how we perceive events, and we can always choose to be virtuous. If we practice, we can instantly erase any impressions from our minds. We are completely in control of our thoughts and actions. Remember the 2 quotes: you have the power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Second key takeaway is that people will always do awful or at least unpleasant things, and we are only responsible for our own virtue. We can choose to be good even when we are surrounded by wrong. When another harms us, we can react with kindness, advising them of their errors if possible, but being okay with it if they ignore this advice. When another angers us, we must immediately consider their point of view. Remember that we have our own faults and respond with positivity and indifference to any supposed harm done to us. And the third key takeaway is that the deepest lesson in meditations relates to our mortality and the shortness of of life. We shall soon be replaced. We ought not waste our lives being distressed. We should focus on doing good for the others with the unknowable amount of time we have left to live. To make this part of our lives, we must reflect regularly on the fact that we will die. This can result in some of the deepest understandings available to humans. Therefore, death should be confronted, no matter how unpleasant it may be to think about it. We should reflect on all the people that have come before us, what is left of them now, and what will be later left of us. And here you have it, the summary and lessons from the book Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. This series of podcasts was born to provide you with life lessons, business lessons, and summaries of your favorite bestsellers. Subscribe and follow us today, and if there's any book you need a summary on, do let us know. Also, share your thoughts with me and I'll be glad to respond to you. I'm Onuzrike Chukwagozie. See you on the next one.